to Metro Talk. I'm Kent Scheffel. Pat Gowan and Jim Schrader are alongside. Jim's the publisher of the Telegraph. Welcome, Jim.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's almost Happy New Year. Soon.
Unless you're watching on Sunday, and I hope you had a good New Year.
Yeah. If you're up early enough to be watching us on Sunday, you didn't have a very good New Year.
And Pat Gowan, one of the editors with the Post-Dispatch. Welcome, Pat.
Thank you.
As long as we're talking New Year, let's talk about the big stories from the year. The number one story from 2010. What was it, Pat?
Well, for Illinois, given everything that's going on, the number one story, I think, is the election of Pat Quinn for governor and the maintenance of Democratic majorities in the House and the Senate. We're out of rope, we're out of time, we're out of money. Big things are going to happen in 2011 to keep the state of Illinois from just going down like the Titanic. These are the people who are going to lead it there. The fact that they're Democrats means something as opposed to something else that might have meant if they were Republicans. I think in terms of getting into people's pocketbooks, getting into the regulation of their lives, that is unquestionably the big story for 2010.
Jim?
I'll take it a little further and say that I think the top story for the 2010 was both locally, statewide, and nationally the economy. Much of the reason that we are in the problems that we're in Springfield is due to the lack of the performance in the economy. We know that's the problem nationwide, and it's having local impacts here. We don't know quite how it's all going to shake out before it's all over with. But I'd have to go back and quote President Clinton when he was running the first time and say it's the economy, stupid, because everything after that just kind of pales by comparison.
With that said, the number two, what was the second biggest story, Pat?
Statewide, probably the hung jury in the Rod Blagojevich governor corruption trial. Blagojevich convicted on just one count and to be retried in the coming year on the other counts. And the attendant national publicity and zaniness that came along with it, the surprise that came, I think, for a lot of people, that he was hung jury on so many, and the surprise for a few people that he was actually convicted on one. I think that's my number two.
Jim, number two?
I could go with the Quinn election, or re-election, and I guess it's a throwback to the Blagojevich scandal because he never would have ascended to the governor's chair had Blagojevich not have been thrown out of office. So I guess we're in agreement here. It's going to be interesting to see how now elected Governor Quinn can fix the problems and undo some of the damage, some of the political damage to the party, to the Democratic Party in the state of Illinois left over by his predecessor.
It's going to get tougher now, Pat. The number three big story of the year.
Well, I think I'm going to take it to the local level and talk about the Alton area employment. I'm going to talk about the yin and the yang. I'm going to talk about for 20 years that I'm aware of, people have said, well, the old Shell refinery, now Wood River, whatever it is, it changes names too often for me to keep up, ConocoPhillips, whatever the latest is. Wood River refinery, people said it's been on the block, it's going to close. Well, now we've got a multi-billion-dollar investment there and a multi-billion-dollar pipeline feeding it. It is not going to close. It's not going to close in my lifetime. It's a lot of well-paid industrial jobs are going to stay in one place, so hooray for it. There was a lot less talk over a less lengthy period of time about losing the Olin cartridge plant at East Alton, and it looks like we're going to lose it to, it looks like they've announced they're going to move those jobs, about 1,000 jobs, I guess, also well-paid industrial jobs, to Mississippi. So out of one industrialized area of Metro East in the year 2010, we had the culmination of some remarkably good news, and we had some remarkably bad news.
So is the top story the fact that the refinery is staying, or that Olin, in your mind, because I've got the glass half full, half empty. I think the top story was Olin saying we're moving these 1,000 jobs.
Au contraire.
And
we're losing fewer jobs than we're keeping, so I'm going to go on the glass more than half full.
You're going to go more than half full, and I'm going to go on a half empty because I am concerned of what ultimately is going to happen to what once was the world headquarters of Winchester, or of Olin Corp. It was, founded as a powder mill in the late 1800s, or early 1800s, excuse me, in East Alton. The rim fire is already gone. We are now beginning the process to move center fire, The corporate offices are already gone to Clayton. I'm concerned that we're going to be left over with a big white elephant and several acres of land that we're going to be ill-equipped to revalue when this is all said and done. I'm concerned that this is not the end of movement for Olin Corp., but it's just more a continuing saga.
So do you want to touch on ConocoPhillips too and try to get half full?
Well, the ConocoPhillips was wonderful news, but that was actually, I think we have to go back 3 years when that process was started. They're almost done now, so I guess when they say, okay, everything is online, that would be the top. But to me, the commitment by Encana and the Canadian partner with ConocoPhillips, that story actually goes back a couple of 3 years.
You've both surprised me. You've both touched on the economy, but I expected to hear more about the state's budget.
To me, they're the same.
Just doesn't seem to have one. Well, it's a mess. Now, a $15 billion deficit. I don't know if that's just the big story from 2010 or the big story for 2011, probably 12, 13, and 14. We haven't even begun to talk about the underfunded pension liabilities. I mean, the state economy is just an absolute wreck. The big story of 2011 might turn out to be the bankruptcy of the state of Illinois, except that there's no provision in the law to allow that, but a sort of de facto bankruptcy appears to be in progress already. We're not paying the creditors. We're carrying an enormous amount of debt. Eventually, our ability to borrow money is going to be saturated, and I don't know what it's going to take to get the legislature to do something about it.
Yeah, to me, you can't separate the economy from any of it. It's all of the above. The state is in a fiscal mess, and the story for 2011, as Pat said, is how do we dig out of that mess? But the state's not in a whole lot better spot than the federal government, except the federal government can still print more money, which just adds to the deficit. We've got deals going on back and forth in the House and Senate and to the president's desk on how we can load up chosen legislation, but we've got to pay for it at some point in time, and unless the economy improves, I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't know how the state is going to get people to swallow and feel good about income tax increase or some other tax increase to balance the budget. It would be a little easier to swallow if I felt like my job was secure and my pay was going to go up and everything else around me wasn't going to go up. I might feel a little better about paying my fair share for the government's mess.
Well, and look at it this way: if we're $15 billion annual deficit in the hole, what are we talking about gaining from an income tax increase that's been on the table? $3 billion? Oh, good. So we're only $12 billion in the hole after we've eaten the income tax increase that nobody seems to want. I mean, the dimension of this thing is enormous.
We need to take a break. We'll have more Metro Talk right after this.
Welcome to the Lewis and Clark Minute. Today we're going to check in with the Exercise Science Program and Shane Callahan.
Have you ever thought to yourself, I just don't have enough time to exercise? Well, here's a few ideas to get you more active from the comfort of your own home while enjoying some of your favorite TV shows. Your typical TV show has 4, 5, 6, even 7 2-minute breaks, which allows for 15, 20 minutes worth of activity. And the activity doesn't have to be very bold or very difficult, but just not wasting that time sitting idly can make all the difference in your health. Movements that use body weight, such as push-ups, sit-ups, dips, or wall squats, or even if you have a bottled water and you want to do arm curls or a lateral raise, these are ways to better fitness. With that in mind, enjoy your show and become more fit.
This has been your Lewis and Clark Minute.
My cell phone number and John's cell phone number. Hey, pretty. And the number of the restaurant where we're going to be. And I've left you my pager number too, just in case, because you never know. John, you have the gift?
The odds of a babysitter calling 911, 1 in 1,400.
Anything should happen, please don't hesitate.
The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism, 1 in 150. You know the odds of autism. Now learn the signs. Go to autismspeaks.org.
can lead to great things. Find out how a healthy lifestyle can help your child succeed.
This is Metro Talk. I'm Kent Scheffel. Pat Gowan and Jim Schrader here. Jim, we touched some about the fact that the budget is going and the economy are going to continue to be big stories in 2011. Other top stories, other things we can expect to be talking about in 2011?
The budget as it pertains to so many segments of the population, to me, is just the biggest issue. I'm also concerned, though, some of the law enforcement officers in the area will downplay some of the recent statistics, but I'm also concerned about the crime rate in the St. Louis metropolitan area, and as it extends into our area, the Riverbend area. We've had several unsolved homicides this year that are being worked. We've had some that are missing persons and are presumed to be homicides. The frequency of shootings in the city of Illinois in the city of Alton has increased. I'm concerned that in part those may be a throwback to the economy as well, the frustration of not being able to find jobs and so forth. But I'm also concerned about as the economy goes down, the crime rate goes up. And if the economy doesn't improve, the crime rate is not going to go down.
Other big stories for 2011, Pat, besides the economy, besides the state budget?
We talked last week about school reform. That's something that's going to be on the table quite a bit. The economic survival of East St. Louis, which is probably our most, as a population base, our most imperiled economically. The Blagojevich trial. I haven't mentioned Blagojevich in a while on this show. That's going to be coming up. That'll be interesting spectator sport. We'll see if they convict him on this occasion. Loss of a congressional seat, almost certain to occur soon. Announcement from the Census Bureau and all. If we lose a seat, how will that affect Southern Illinois? We're used to sort of the coexistence of Jerry Costello and John Shimkus, and it could impact whether one of them goes back to Washington. So we've got some things on the radar that we can see, and probably the big story of the year maybe we don't even see yet.
The Blagojevich trial may flop like the new season of American Idol. You switch out the judges and it's just not the same show.
It may not be.
And seriously, to the extent that there were any surprises in the last trial, and there weren't, there don't appear to be any coming up in this trial unless we get some witnesses who were talked about last time and didn't show up. You get a Rahm Emanuel on the stand, you got something, but otherwise it's going to be a snoozer because everybody will know what's going to be presented.
And Rahm's not going to testify. He's busy running for mayor of Chicago.
Mayor of Chicago.
Jim, St. Clair County is going to lay off 13 deputies. They were willing to keep all of those deputies and give a 1% pay increase. The deputies said, nope, that's not enough. We need a bigger pay increase. And as a result, the county's going to lay off 13. Did the deputies make the right move?
That's a good question. Probably not the right move for the citizens of St. Clair County. They decided to go to arbitration. The deputies claimed that they were underpaid as compared to their counterparts in surrounding counties. The arbiter agreed with them and said that they were vastly underpaid and basically said that all existing deputies in St. Clair County should get a 10% pay increase, which certainly sounds great if you're one of those officers that drive around the county all day. However, it doesn't generate the money at the county level to pay those. So I guess Sheriff Justice and the county board said, look, if you can agree to less, we can keep everybody working, but if we have to go forward with this type of increase, somebody's going to lose their job. And I think it was unanimous, if I remember the vote. The deputy said, no, we're not going to settle for less. We want the raise. And if we have to sacrifice 13 of our brother deputies, so be it. And that appears what's going to happen.
Pat, 13 deputies are scheduled to lose their jobs in St. Clair County because they voted down a 1% pay increase. The county said 1%'s the best we could do. If you don't settle for 1%, we've got to do layoffs.
Well, one missing element in this is that the St. Clair County deputies have been historically underpaid. These guys have not been paid what their counterparts in other places have been getting. It's an underpaid police force, long has been. Some of it's a question of the allocation of resources in St. Clair County. Now, they're keeping the airport, they're keeping the executives at the airport, and they're paid a good bit better than the deputy sheriffs. I think maybe if you're in trouble in the county, call the airport and see if they can send somebody over to help you with your problem. I'm being partly sarcastic, but this is a matter of priorities, and the taxpayers of St. Clair County are putting multiple millions of dollars a year into an airport that it still is not bearing fruit for them. There's going to be a time to cut bait, and if you're willing to keep the airport in favor of law enforcement, primary law enforcement protection for people who live in the unincorporated areas of the county, you've made a pretty bold statement about where your priorities are in St. Clair County. And if the people are upset with this, maybe that's where they ought to go to look. I feel sorry for Merle Justice, the sheriff. I don't think this is something he would rather do. I think it's something he's stuck with by the budget that's handed to him by the county fathers.
Jim, Illinois House Republican leader Tom Cross has written an opinion piece. He says that we need to revamp the pension for people that are still working in the state that are covered by the state's pension systems. Is Cross correct in seeking changes for people that are currently employed as opposed to future employees?
He can seek them all he wants to, but in the case of Illinois state employees, that's probably not going to happen. Too strong too much political clout there to enact those type of changes. I think he probably has a good idea. I mean, private employers, and we all know the government is not run like a private employer, but private employers have eliminated the fixed benefit plans and have gone to 401ks, have gone to profit sharing plans, have gone to some other type of investment option to fund their pensions. What usually happens in that particular case is at the time, for current employees, at the time the pension system is abolished, your benefit is frozen. So if you have 18 years with a company, that fixed benefit pension will not continue to grow, but it will be frozen. You won't lose anything, it's still insured, and then you can go over to another option. I think we all know, because we were talking about it off the air, state pensions are very lucrative in the state of Illinois. They pay very, very well. It's based on your last years of employment, last year I think it is of employment. That's subject to change now. But they are very, very valuable. It doesn't keep anybody from retiring with their time in and getting another state job and building another pension. I think it's a great idea. I just don't think that Tom Cross or anybody else in Springfield has the political clout to get it done.
Tom Cross, the Republican leader of the Illinois House, says we need to change the pension system for current state employees. Is it fair? Does it make sense? Should we go ahead and change the system for the current state workers?
Well, the unions who represent them don't generally support the Republican Party, so he has nothing to lose in saying this, and hooray for him. But I don't think it's politically wise. I don't think it's political reality. Maybe whether it's wise or not, it's not mine to say. I don't think as a matter of reality you're going to get them to do it. The other issue is I'm a law degree short of being a lawyer, but I'm not sure that you can change those rules in the middle of the game. I hired on for particular benefits in particular. I think you'd have lawsuits out the wazoo over this thing that might win.
Private employers can. Mm-hmm. They're usually spelled out in their benefit plans, but I'm like Pat, I would doubt they are at the state level.
We need to take a break. We'll have more Metro Talk right after this.
Hello and welcome to the Lewis and Clark Minute. Today we're going to check out the radio broadcasting program and WLCA with Mike Lemons.
Have you ever listened to your favorite radio station or your favorite disc jockey and say, I could do that? Or maybe you're the type of person who says, I could never do something like that. Well, with the help of first-year mass comm student John, we're going to show you just how easy it is. Each voice intro starts with talking about the band that just played, and we add a station identifier. Next, you want to offer some information that may be of interest to your audience. And finally, tell the listeners what the next song is, who sings it, followed by another station identifier. John will do one live now.
Silver Sun Pickup substitution on WLCA. The Big Pink released their debut album called A Brief History of Love. The single is off that album. It's The Big Pink with Dominoes. It's on College Radio's Best 89.9.
This has been your Lewis and Clark Minute.
Mom! Mom!
What?
You can't find Ichabod.
What?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
Whatever we deny or embrace, for worse or for better, we belong, we belong, we belong, we belong.
Underneath everything we are, underneath everything we do, we are all people. Connected, interdependent, united. And when we reach out a hand to one, we can influence the condition of all. That's what it means to live united.
You're watching Metro Talk. I'm Kent Scheffel, Pat Gowan, and Jim Schrader here. Pat, Ballpark Village in St. Louis has been back in the news. The developers say that they're now wanting to move forward with a 14-story office building. They just need the necessary tax credits, and they'll be ready to start moving forward. Are we finally going to see Ballpark Village get off the ground?
I'm sorry, you said necessary tax credits, I believe. My friend and colleague Bill McClellan wrote a column about this with an analysis that is hard to top, essentially saying if it's good business to build something, business will build it. If it's not necessarily good business to build something, they're going to put their hand out. ESPN Zone was going to be part of the original grand plan, the can't miss thing, and they've closed their places in, 6 other cities. Is it fair to take my tax money to build something for Jim to compete with my business? If Jim's going to open a restaurant down there, he gets tax credits, and I'm going to help pay with my taxes for a new competitor to be built across town. The whole idea of subsidizing, government subsidy for this kind of program seems silly to me. I'm personally inclined to agree with our friend McClellan about this, but I don't see a real good argument for getting deeper and deeper in it. The reason that Ballpark Village exists at all is it was a promise the developers made in order to get tax advantages or tax money put into building a stadium, which a lot of people also opposed. So we're going to build Ballpark Village if you do this. Well, they did this, and now they're coming back to the well, and I don't know how many more times it will. This is a much scaled down version. I think it's about half the size of what was originally envisioned, but I don't know why we need it. I don't know why St. Louis needs it if it's just going to cause businesses up the street to shutter in order to move south down by the ballpark. Then we spend a lot of tax money, but I don't see what we've gained.
But you're raising a much bigger issue there because many businesses suffer when Walmart comes to town, but it's rare that Walmart comes to town without a tax incentive.
I'm not restricting it to Ballpark Village at all. I think that's just a high-profile emblem of this going on day in and day out in a lot of places.
Jim?
The last I heard, downtown St. Louis was not at maximum capacity in the buildings that are already built, most of which were built without tax credits. Now, mega millionaires want help to build an office building that's going to compete with the guy down the street who's trying to lease his at a fair rate. We build this building with tax credits, basically rent-free, as it were, for the developers. They obviously can compete better or more cheaply with somebody that's putting his own money, blood, sweat, and tears into a building. I'm against tax money I was against using tax money to build Busch Stadium, but that to me at least has some more of an economic throughput or a tourist value than building a 14-story office building and maybe putting a Domino's pizza in the first floor. I think McClellan went on to say that he likes to have the idea of having a softball diamond in downtown St. Louis that nobody uses. I was okay when it was just a mud pit, just kind of bulldoze it over, let some grass grow out there, and use it a place where people can have picnics prior to the game, leave it as green space.
The speculation, and I say speculation, is that Stiefel Nicklaus would move into that building. But if they do, that leaves empty space downtown that they left.
That's exactly right. If anybody moves there from somewhere else in the metro, we've accomplished nothing. We've rearranged the chairs on the Titanic here. The only way I would even potentially support this idea is if they said, okay, I've got 4,000 jobs that will move down from the city of Chicago or move in from Indianapolis or whatever. But just to rearrange where people call home and hang their hat and turn on their computer terminal, to me, that makes no sense at all.
Pat, Missouri Lieutenant Governor Peter Kinder says the city of St. Louis should sell Lambert Airport, take the money, be better off. Mayor Slay says that's not legal. He says it may make more sense for the county to become involved with the operation of the airport. Would that be a good move?
Well, Slay says that the FAA won't let them profit, won't let them use the money for any but airport improvements if they were to sell it. And if that's true, then it seems to render the whole thing moot. Never mind that Lieutenant Governor Kinder happens to be a Republican. The city's run by Democrats. It's Democrats who've elected the city government, and the policies of the city government are reflective of what the people of the city of St. Louis want. And Kinder really wasn't elected to do that sort of thing. So if he wants to put a good idea on the table, that's fine. But why it holds any sway at all with the city, I have no idea. It gets his name in print, but beyond that, I don't think it's added much value to this.
Jim, should the city of St. Louis be selling the airport? Should it be working with St. Louis County in operating the airport?
I think they should be operating together. I think part of the problem that we have in the St. Louis metropolitan area is when people outside of the area think of St. Louis, they think of the metropolitan area of St. Louis, and they think of St. Charles and St. Louis City and St. Louis County and all of the burbs in St. Louis County all rolled into one cohesive unit. They're not cohesive at all. And to me, if St. Louis County was involved in the operation of the airport, that would make a whole lot more sense. It's not even in St. Louis City except due to a quirk of zoning. You leave the city limits of St. Louis City a long time before you get to Lambert. It would seem to me to operate it as a government entity, St. Louis County, St. Louis City wide would make a whole lot more sense. And if you can throw in St. Charles, which isn't that far away across the river, that would make sense as well.
I just can't quite figure out what you'd gain. You'd have more cooks with spoons in the pot, but in terms of actually running things any better, I'm not sure that would help. Chicago has the same thing with O'Hare. O'Hare's not in the city of Chicago, but it's owned by the city of Chicago and run by the city of Chicago.
Cincinnati Airport's in Covington, Kentucky.
Owned by the city?
It's owned by the city, as far as I know.
In a different state.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for this edition of Metro Talk, the New Year's edition. Thanks for being with us. Pat Gowan, one of the editors with the Post-Dispatch, has been here, along with Jim Schrader, the publisher of the Telegraph. I'm Kent Scheffel. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.